Welcome back, everybody. This Week in America, website thisweekinamerica.us. As mentioned, our guest on the program is Florine Dotson Evans. She was born in Oklahoma. Her father was a Pentecostal pastor, also worked for the federal government. Her mother was a homemaker. She completed business school and worked with the state of Oklahoma in the medical evaluation unit. Through the years, like all of us, suffered ups and downs. She answered the call to ministry, was ordained in October of 2003. And Florine is the author of the book Round by Round in Search of Wisdom, brief words of wisdom that are an encouragement to many. And she's with us on This Week in America. Florine, welcome to the program. It's great to have you with us today.
Thank you, Rick. It's good to be here.
I love the book, and we'll be talking about it, Round by Round in Search of Wisdom. I'd like to go back and talk about how this whole book came about. And I mentioned you had ups and downs, setbacks like everybody through life, and you're going through one of these little physical ailments. And you're watching Oprah, and suddenly you're walking away with a lot of inspiration. I understand this is where a lot of these ideas came from. Talk about that period, why you were laid up and watching Oprah, and how you were inspired to actually write down these pearls of wisdom.
Well, you're right. I did have an injury at work that I was home for 8 months. And during that time, Oprah became my friend. At 3 o'clock, I would watch her and all the people she would have on. One of the things that I noticed about her, she was always uplifting people and encouraging them to do the best and be the best they could be. And as a result of that, I started thinking about things that had happened to me in my life and the things that brought me through it. And a lot of it was changing the way I thought. And I started writing those things down. And over time, I decided to just put a little pamphlet together for my friends. And they enjoyed it so much, they said, you need to have this printed. You need to publish this. And because they put it on their coffee table and their friends would come and read it and so forth. So that's how it got started.
We'll talk about the power of short messages. And these are, the book is filled with simple truths, nuggets of wisdom on each page, very simple to read. Talk about the power of short messages. In fact, you said when you hear a truth spoken briefly, it becomes more relevant. There is a lot of power, isn't there, in the simplicity of a message sometimes?
Yes. I call them word seeds. And I could have shared a lot of what happened to me, but I decided, why don't I tell what was the result of it? What did I get out of that experience I went through, or that trial, or that circumstance? And so I just put it in a simple sentence, a paragraph. And I feel that plants a seed in the heart of the reader. And from that seed grows wisdom that only God can give. It came to me that way, and it'll come to them that way.
You know, it's interesting. The book is available, by the way, all across the country. Christian bookstores available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble. When you read the reviews, it has touched in a positive way so many people. That has to be really encouraging because you felt like you had some divine help along the way as you went on this progress to get the book actually printed. It has to be very rewarding to find that your words that help you get through difficult situations, are helping other people as well.
Yes, it is encouraging. And one of the things I know will work is the title. It wasn't from me. It came to me from the Lord. I was in a very deep pit in some ways because I had 3 real hard hit things happening at once. And I didn't know how to, I was just overwhelmed. And then in prayer, after I settled down and got quiet, I heard the Lord speak, say, round by round. And then it was like something clicked in my head. Oh, round by round. So I don't have to look at it all at once. Show me the first round. And as a result of that, that's the way I've lived my life ever since. But when the Lord speaks to one, he speaks to all. So anybody that has that book and say round by round, the Lord is speaking to them too.
Well, there is so much wisdom in that because when we have problems, we're sort of overwhelmed with the enormity of the problem. And you're saying, let's just break it down and and work on it. One of the word seeds in the book, Round by Round in Search of Wisdom, our guest on the program is Florine Dotson Evans, is you may be in a great struggle, hope you will prevail round by round. And that's where you end the book, and that's really something we need to take away, isn't it? When
Yes.
things seem to be like this problem that you're not going to be able to tackle all alone, just break it down round by round, and suddenly it becomes a little easier to take on.
And then one of the things I put in there is give time. A lot of people get discouraged and give up because they want it to happen all at once. But just like a little seed that you plant, whether it's a seed of a child or baby in the womb, or if it's a plant or an animal or whatever that receive the seed, it takes time for it to develop. And in the book, I'm saying the thing that you're hoping for, the thing that you want to happen and dreaming for, it is in the process, but give time.
The book is called, very simply, Round by Round in Search of Wisdom. Our guest on the program, the author Florine Dotson Evans. I want to talk about your background because it is so fascinating. A native, as I mentioned, of Oklahoma. And as you're going to school there, this is like integration is just beginning to happen. There are like
Yes.
4,000 students there. You are among a handful of students integrating there. This is 1956. So talk about that experience because that would be overwhelming for a lot of people.
Well, it was in a way, but my mother and father had taught me faith, and I wanted to get out of it, of course, because I saw on the news what was happening down south, and I was afraid. Actually, I was afraid I might be killed. But my mother said, "You're going. This is your time in history. You must step on stage and go forward." And so I said, "Okay." When I went the first day, I just said, "Well, whatever happens, will happen." And it's just amazing what we can do. I think that's why I can encourage so many people because very few people faced anything quite that enormous. But I can tell them that God will shore you up for whatever you're facing.
And if you're not familiar with that time, if you look at some of the old newsreels back in the 50s and 60s, when you see the process of integration around the country, those were really frightening times. And I want to talk about what family meant to you. I mentioned your father was a minister, worked for the government. Your mother was a homemaker, took care of the family.
Yes.
Religious people, talk about that foundation. Would you have been able to have gotten through that period without that religious foundation that they had laid for you?
I'm sure there's some that most of the kids that went did have family that was very strong in the knowledge of the Lord and the power of his might. And he said, "Lo, I'll be with you always, even to the end of the world, in the age." So God never leaves us, he never forsakes us, he's always there for us. And I was taught that God isn't there for us, we're here for him. We're here on the earth realm because God had a purpose for us to be here. So when you change your thinking, it changes your life.
Our guest on This Week in America is Florine Dotson Evans. The book is Round by Round in Search of Wisdom. Another one of the word seeds. And as you're reading each one, in fact, you'll go back and read them many, many times. And you'll sort of like, okay, when I face this situation, I want to go back and read this particular one. One is you're saying your personal power cannot be taken. You must agree to surrender it. And that is so important because do you find so often we give people more power over us than we should?
That's right. They're just one human being. They're not God. They're not a big giant, and you're a little mouse. They have the same power you do, and you have the same they have. It's how you use it. And all you have to do is pipe into that understanding and wisdom to say, "God, I'm here by your design. I'm here because you have a purpose for me. And I agree with you. Show me my purpose and help me accomplish the thing for which I come into the world and see what happens.
You were
It's
facing a situation. I mentioned that you've known heartbreak, a loss of the home, and you sort of use those words, and you've now simplified it to you've got about a dozen words there that get you through this. But you really stood up to the authorities at the time. You came out ahead on the other end, but you didn't surrender your power, did you? You held your own and came out of it.
yes, I got a foreclosure notice. My husband and I, he's a chemist, and I work for the communications industry, and was a manager. I had a good job, and in the Northwest in the '80s, we had great layoffs, 10,000 chemists and engineers and so forth. And so as a result, there was a lot of divorces, a lot of home losses, and it was just a tragedy. And I was told that they were going to foreclose on the house. So I wrote my credit union and asked them for a loan since I had been a manager for many years. And they wrote back and denied me, saying, we denied you because your husband is not working. And so I, of course, almost went into a depression. And then late one night, I was up early in the morning, about 2 o'clock. I decided to write a letter to them and express that if I was a man and my wife didn't work, it wouldn't be a problem for me to get this loan. So why can't I be the breadwinner and you approve my loan? And I can't tell you what all I said, but it was pretty much going back to that same scenario.
And you said as you sat down to write the letter, you really didn't even know what you were going to say. It just sort of flowed as you were sitting there writing it.
I hate to admit it, but I wrote a 4-page letter. And it was like a ready writer. It was just pouring from my heart because I felt that I should get the money. And so I went for it. And I was talking to them as though everything was perfect in my life. And I didn't want them to center on the tragedy or what I didn't have, but what I did have going for me. And so I received a letter a couple of weeks later saying, well, it came day for foreclosure, and I didn't go. I just kept doing the lawn and doing the things I did, just like everything was okay. And then I got a notice that the credit union bought my house out of foreclosure and that they would rent the house back to me for $200 less than I was paying. And I stayed there 5 years until I was relocated to another assignment.
And all because you took this literally round by round and refused to surrender to these people. It's your power. It's your life. You are going to be in control. The book is Round by Round in Search of Wisdom. Florine Dotson Evans, our guest on the program. The book is filled with word seeds that will get you through very difficult situations. One that I like in particular, and it's so appropriate, is go with the flow. You had to put that in there, didn't you? That was just that's what you've done most of your life with Florine Dotson Evans, our guest on the program. But so often, and you've got FLOW, and that's what we all need to learn is, and stay in the moment is another word seed that you have there as well. You really believe in staying in reality and not letting a situation get out of control.
And staying in the moment means don't prophesy on yourself bad things that haven't happened yet. Deal with what has happened, not what you think is going to happen, and let fear come in. Uh, Staying in the moment. What can I do today? How? And my thought was, who can I help today? Lord, if I'm here for your purpose is to love. Your purpose is to be glorified. How can I glorify you today? How can I help someone today? And with that philosophy and change of mind, I didn't I didn't think about I'm poor, I'm losing. I'm I became an instrument that God could use.
Well, and you are an instrument, as I mentioned, touching people. Reading one of the reviews, I found this one was interesting. I have moments where I reflect on a phrase and relate it to a personal struggle, or I use it as a daily encouragement. So this doesn't have to be something where you go to when there's a problem. Just read it daily, because there is daily, everyday wisdom that we can take out of the book round by round.
It's amazing to me how many people say they have it in their Bible or next to their Bible. And when they do their devotions, they also open it and say, "What does Flo have for me today?" And they meditate on one of those phrases and word seeds. So I'm very happy to see that God. I used to ask Him, "Why am I going through all this? Why am I suffering all this?" And so He answered me. It was to help someone else. And so it's just rewarding the things and the letters that I get of what has happened on a simple phrase. It's just the Lord, and He's being glorified.
Round by Round, In Search of Wisdom, the book. Florine Dotson Evans is our guest on the program. Information available at our website, thisweekinamerica.us. The book is available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Christian bookstores all around the country. If you can't remember all of that, just go to our website. There'll be a direct link so you can get information and order the book. One of the word seeds is very simple. Send faith to answer any questions that fear may bring.
Yes,
And I'm thinking, I'm reading one, it's like, okay, I really like this one. Then the next one, I really like this one. But this really sort of sums it up, doesn't it? That faith is really something that can get us through very difficult situations.
that's right. And you have to speak back to fear. You can't be a. That's when you're losing your power, when you don't speak up. And I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. When He says, "Oh, your husband lost his job, this happened, you may not be able to eat tomorrow. Look what could happen." Look at, no, faith says that God loves me and love never fails. And if I love, I will continue on because there's no power can come against me, can destroy love. So if you're in the love circle, you're in good hands.
A couple minutes left in the program. Talk about the call to ministry. I mentioned the fact that you were ordained in October of 2003. Talk about
Yes.
the power of that, because it seems like your whole life was destined to get into ministry at some point. What was the point where it's like, okay, I'm going to follow, and this is what I'm going to do?
I guess I've been in ministry all my life. I
Yes.
didn't realize. But I finally, the Lord just put in my heart to um, claim my calling. And I said, "Oh, Lord, I can do the work. I don't have to say." He said, "No, I want you to claim your calling into the ministry." And so I did. And I went to my husband first and said what I had planned to do. He said, "I've already known that's what's going to happen." So he was very supportive. God bless him for that. And so it's just who I am. And I know God has a sense of humor because of all people, He chose me.
Well, you're touching people in such a positive way. The book is Round by Round, In Search of Freedom, Wisdom. Florine Dotson Evans is our guest on the program. There's so many really interesting, and you call them word seeds, and that really is, because, in fact, if you go back and read them at different times, you'll sort of get different interpretations depending on where your life is at that particular point in time. And one that I like, and we'll sort of close with this, and it's very simple. You are the solution.
That's right.
So often we look around and we're looking for the, somebody to come and save us. And it's like, excuse me, you are the solution. That's very simple, 4 words, and it really sums it up, doesn't it?
Well, it does, in my opinion, because God didn't leave you here defenseless. Everything you need is inside of you. All you have to do is pull it out. It's already there. Everything that you want, everything that you need. You ask the Lord to lead and guide me. And He will. And stop saying what can happen and say, I know there is a way. Lord, show me the way.
The book is Round by Round, In Search of Wisdom. Our guest on the program a minute or so left, Florine Dotson Evans. Are you working on Round by Round 2?
Yes, I am. It's almost done, and it's exciting to me because of what has been revealed. I think because of the feedback I've gotten, it inspired me to get busy on it, and it should be ready in another few months.
I'd love to have you back on the program to talk about that. Again, in reading the reviews, you have touched so many people. It's one thing, I guess, when you get positive reviews from friends and family, you sort of expect that. You sort of expect them to take the time to read it. But when total strangers will get on the internet or approach you at a book signing, and I know this has happened, and basically say, thank you, this has changed my life. And if you get nothing else out of this, it's basically round by round. Take life, take your problems round by round, and you can get through them.
And two surprising groups. The teens, I went to a youth summit at Cal Lutheran University, and the teenagers, I was really surprised. I thought they would kind of look at it and put it down and keep going because we had so many kids there. But they stopped and started reading out loud to each other, listen to this one, listen to that one, and asking me about it. And I was so thrilled to see that this is a possibility for people's children going off to school or just teenagers, put it in their room. And surprisingly, they read it. Another surprise was the men. I thought women might drift to it more than they say. I gave it to my husband. I had to buy another one because he hasn't given it back. He won't give it back. So I was very happy for that.
Well, and speaking of that, one more word seed before we leave. When a woman wants to be equal to a man, she limits her potential. So, yeah, I'm looking at that going, wait, what? I love that message. It really, it's empowering. The book is excellent. It's Round by Round, In Search of Wisdom. Florine Dotson Evans, our guest on the program, working on a sequel. We will have her back to talk about that. The book is available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Christian bookstores all around the country. Go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and get information on the book. You can link on directly to book information. Florine, thank you so much for joining us on the program. It was a pleasure having the opportunity to read the book and a pleasure to have you on the program. Thank you so much.
Can I just say something before you close?
Of course.
I'm in Simi Valley at Simi Second Missionary Baptist Church. Pastor Dr. Willie Bray is my pastor. And if you're ever in this area, stop by and say hello.
And I'm sure you can get an autographed copy of the book, Round by Round, In Search of Wisdom as well. Florine, thank you so much for being on the program. We look forward to talking again. Thank you.
God bless you.
You're listening to This Week in America, website thisweekinamerica.us.